Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 3 of This Is Why I'm Not Invited. My name is Nova Nebula, although I'm sure a lot of you are already aware of that. Today, I'm going to be posting the follow up to episode 2, which was basically talking about entitled weird behavior men coming into the dungeon space that I've created. So I'm going to bring you back to basically about 4 different types of men that actually came to my space at a party about a week ago. We left off talking about a guy that we refer to as the sword guy. For obvious reasons, it was a wooden sword and not a metal sword, but sword guy nonetheless, that man shall forever remain. Then we had the other guy, which basically held on and carried my rejection for over 2 years and came to the event super angry. I had no idea who this man was, despite the fact that I hadn't even met him in person for more than 5 minutes, and then had a temper tantrum the entire party because he thought that I owed him my time, my emotion. I don't know. I have no idea what this man thought, but literally crazy. Today, we are now going to pick up with the other 2 men that came to the event that were just as awkward, just as weird, and just as uncomfortable. We're going to start off with a man who came that did not want to sign the waiver. He wanted to go into the venue without signing the waiver, without making a payment, to essentially see how many people were at the party, see who was present, see who was in there and available and what was going on. It's really simple, you guys. I try to have a very structured place because I understand that there is a lot going on, and I myself thrive with structure. Go figure. It's really simple, okay? There's a door, there's a check-in table, and there's a waiver. We actually have the waiver online, so that way you do not have to fill it out in person, and it actually expedites the check-in process, allowing everyone to get in and out easily. The lobby itself is actually not the hugest, and I really don't want a lot of people in there overcrowding because it can be overwhelming for the volunteers, myself, and then people involved, right? So I want people to be able to move into the lobby, do the quick check-in process, double check their waiver, and then go to the back space. Well, enter man number 3. He absolutely did not sign the waiver ahead of time. He actually told the volunteer that he didn't know he needed to sign one, which is crazy because we have that waiver posted everywhere on the event pages, on the space page. I talk about waivers all the time. It's not a surprise. Honestly, up to this point, I have never had an issue with someone signing a waiver, right? Go figure. Super easy, super quick, very straight to the point. There is nothing to question. Many people have done this waiver. And then there's this man. He literally refused to sign the waiver. He insisted that he wanted to go see the party. He wanted to see how many people were present. He kept asking the front volunteers, hey, who's here? Hey, what's going on? Hey, how many people are here? Fishing for basically information. Now, let me be really clear. If you cannot respect the very first boundary, which is the literal front door, you don't get access to the rest of the space. I don't care who you think you are. I don't care where you went that you've never had to do this before. If you think that you're too good to follow basic consent logistics, you're honestly too risky to be present or in the room for any kink event, not just my own. If you try to dodge consent on paper, literally in the front lobby, before you do anything else, I'm not letting you anywhere near people that are doing rope, wearing latex, or in the back. Hands down, absolutely not. I do not let anybody into the space that has not filled out the waiver, much less anybody that's going to complain about a waiver. It's about safety. The fact that made this even worse, again, this man had never been to any of our events because he's never filled out a waiver. This is a standard process, right? When he was told that no, absolutely you cannot go to the back and see who's here, when he kept fishing for information, the fact that he argued that I just want to see who's there, how many people are here, is a huge red flag. It isn't ignorance, it's arrogance, and it's not cute. If you can't respect a boundary that is so simple, clear, and 100% laid out for you, you are absolutely going to disrespect more important boundaries once you get inside the space. Waivers are not red tape. They offer community protection. They're boundaries, safety protocols, and expectation in a single format that everyone can understand. For my location, waivers are not optional. I don't make this waiver as some thing to keep me busy. I don't do that. I don't want to be busy. I don't want to have to do things that require more work of me than are necessary. However, waivers are really good for everybody involved. It's something that helps keep the space safe. It gives clear direction, right? Signing the waiver essentially means that you've read our expectations, you know the boundaries, you know some rules. We talk about privacy and the consent that we value to uphold in the space to make it the place that it is. It's an acknowledgement that you're part of our social contract that we're trying to create in our space, essentially, where we value safety and consent. When you sign the waiver, you're not just protecting yourself, you're protecting the people around you. By acknowledging the waiver and answering the questions, you're basically saying, hey, I understand that this is a space with intention. It's a space that is created. It's intentional community building, right? We value safety, consent, respect, and understanding. And I, too, respect, consent, safety, and understanding. You're not necessarily agreeing to anything, but basically you're accepting accountability for what is allowed in the space and what is not allowed in the space. If you refuse to sign a waiver, I'm not going to let you in. You're not entitled to enter. And basically, for me, you become a risk. When you skip the waiver, basically you are denying accountability, right? Again, I'm not asking for a lot. I really don't ask for a lot. I would like people to just be self-aware, socially aware, and not hurt other people. Don't do anything illegal, right? Don't hurt yourself, don't hurt strangers, don't hurt animals. I'm pretty simple, right? If something should accidentally happen, because sometimes it can, by signing the waiver, essentially you accept personal accountability. You don't get to shift the blame or, even worse, try to blame ignorance. I didn't know I couldn't do that. Well, no, actually, you should have known you couldn't do that because it's in the waiver, right? Some ways that unsafe people operate is essentially finding the tiniest little loopholes and then just tearing through them. That waiver, it closes these loopholes. It's not a bureaucracy. It's about making sure that if you do cross the line, you can't claim ignorance. You're going to be held accountable for your actions exactly the way that everyone else would be if they had done something. The second you step into a room without signing a waiver, you've now become a risk to everyone and their privacy. People come to my space because they know that everyone else inside has agreed to a level of confidentiality. And confidentiality in things that we do are really important, right? They understand that you're not going to go out to your everyday night life. You're not going to be going out to people and telling them, oh, guess what I saw this weekend? Oh, this person did that. That person over there, do you see them? Yeah, I saw them on the weekend at this space doing these behaviors. Absolutely not, right? At the end of the day, I myself, my volunteers, and everybody that works with me and alongside of me, we are not going to let anybody walk in without signing a waiver, right? If we do it for one person, then unfortunately, that's going to set a level of expectation for other people that they can do this behavior as well. And if we start doing that, our space, my space, the space that I've worked years to create and basically bring to life, it's no longer going to be a safe space. It's basically going to become this revolving door for whoever thinks they can just walk their way in and complain to get their way and basically not be held accountable for basic things. Then we're going to have creeps in our space. And I'm absolutely not willing to allow that to happen. Not on my watch. In my opinion, there's a really huge undertone of red flag behavior if you go to a space and you want to see who's there. There's so much more underlying than that. It's not as harmless as people think it is. And the reason for this, for me, is essentially that people who want to see who's there, they want to see how many people are present, they're basically fishing for targets. Let's be real. When people are like, hey, I just want to see how many people are there, it's not innocent curiosity. They're basically like scoping out the place. They're deciding based on the people that are present or what they see with their own eyes, whether or not if they want to stay. Because essentially, they are placing value on what the people present look like, or in a worst case scenario, basically how vulnerable they appear. And I don't run my venue for people to window shop other humans. That quick look that's seemingly harmless is essentially a potential predator gathering intel. They want to see if there's somebody there that they can hit on, someone who looks new, or someone who doesn't know the rules as well enough to verbalize that what's happening is potentially red flag behavior. I'm not giving anybody a free pass so they can look for an easy mark. Once you come inside and pass through the door, we basically have a place of trust. If someone just pokes their head in so they can scan the room, they basically disrupt that trust. People feel watched or judged, and that can shift the energy of the room. That's not what this space is about. Last but not least, we move on to contestant number 4. We are going to call him the virgin. And again, that's not a bad thing. We're not going to call him a virgin as if it's a shameful thing, because it's not. I mean, it's actually great. If that's what you're into, I feel like it's wonderful and it's definitely for you. However, if you weaponize your virginity, it is definitely a problem. On the surface, this person, this man that came in, he seemed harmless, right? And that actually presents a new kind of danger. We are used to a very stereotypical type of danger in our scene. Loud, boisterous, ignorant, narcissistic, self-centered, right? Egotistical. In this situation, this man wasn't like that. He's not the loud, barking animal that we're used to. Instead, he was a whimpering one. Have you ever met somebody who's not dangerous in the obvious way, but whenever you're around them, it still makes you feel gross. He wasn't overly aggressive. He wasn't even aggressive at all, but he was emotionally draining and also very like emotionally leaky. This man basically went up to every femme and femme presenting person he could find and told them that he was new. Not a problem. Again, not a problem. Everybody starts off somewhere. And I want to reiterate that. We weren't just all professionals. We didn't just wake up one day and become like this huge proponent of whatever we're into. It took time. It took time for us to get to where we are now. And it took time for us to become who we are. And honestly, I don't know about you, but I am definitely still becoming a better version of myself. I am still growing, and that's great, right? Again, back to this. It's okay to be new. It is. It's wonderful. Congratulations. You finally made it. But here's the problem. When you're new, that does not give you the right to trauma dump or to use emotional manipulation to try to get your way. And that's what this man did. It wasn't just the fact that he was new. He was telling every femme presenting person that would give him a minute that he was a virgin. He would not leave them alone. Some people let me know that they actually felt cornered in conversation, and not for the reason you think. They weren't afraid to leave because they felt some inherent danger. Like they weren't worried he's going to lash out or freak out or like hurt them. They were afraid to leave him because they felt bad for him. They pitied him so much, it prevented them from leaving an uncomfortable conversation. Now, when someone comes up to you and shares something that is so personable, it's really vulnerable and it can make you see them in a certain type of light, right? Like, wow, like, this person's here. It's his first time. Oh my gosh, he's sharing something vulnerable with me. This is not that, right? This act of vulnerability was nothing but an act. It was literally a performance. After he basically cornered any femme presenting person that would listen, he hovered behind them. He stood there. He stood next to their conversation and just made it awkward for everybody, right? He wanted to be present, but he wanted to be rescued. What he was looking for was for anybody to take pity on him. He wanted somebody to feel so bad for him that they would offer him pity play, which is absolutely unacceptable, right? He wanted somebody to feel so bad for him that they would take time to guide him to new things, to teach him whatever. And really, at the end of the day, he wanted nothing more than to find somebody that felt so bad for him that they would touch him. And that is completely unacceptable. When you start using emotional manipulation tactics, that makes you a horrible person. And this man literally tried to get anybody to feel so bad for him that they would basically do things with him that they didn't plan on doing. That isn't vulnerability. That's manipulation. This man was using sadness as a weapon. And he thought that desperation was charming or would get him places, and it didn't. Loneliness is not an excuse for you to get things from other people. Essentially, one of the biggest things in our industry is that we're told to be understanding. We're told to be open. We're told to be welcoming, right? Give everybody a chance. But we also, in the same note, need to understand that being awkward doesn't mean that people deserve a free pass. They do not get to absorb your energy and keep you in a place where you feel afraid to leave them because you're just so sad for them. Being a virgin doesn't entitle you to somebody's time, their space, or their body. This man needs to realize that his loneliness, no matter how loud he talks about it, whoever and everybody that he talks to it about, because let me tell you, he was talking to everybody about how lonely he was. Everyone knows he's a virgin because he went to every single person to announce it. Okay. People do not owe him intimacy because he's announcing he's a virgin. Okay. Another thing, too, this man became defensive when he didn't get what he wanted, which here is our red flag. He came looking for pity play, got nothing, and got. What makes this dangerous is that desperation isn't always harmless. It's a gateway to entitlement. I've seen men start off with a sentence similar to, I just want to find a place where I can be myself. I just want to find a place where I can belong. And then end up demanding submission, demanding pity play, demanding access to someone else's body, space, and time, and then basically deny all personal accountability of their actions. Desperation gets coded as harmless, but realistically, it's insidious when it becomes a strategy. When someone walks into a space and makes everything all about them and their fragile emotions, they're actively draining the safety. It's not something that we're used to because, again, it's not angry, it's not loud, it's not aggressive. It's still dangerous nonetheless. And the reason for this is because that person, that man, expects their needs to be fed by somebody else breaking their boundaries. And that is completely unacceptable. People have this expectation that every single kind of predator in the spaces that we run are going to be obvious. They're loud. Again, they're egotistical. They're in leather. They have whips. They're trying to show off the serpentine, right? Some of the most unsafe people that I've ever encountered are not that type. They're quiet. They are desperate. They claim to be seeking a space where they belong. They make prolonged eye contact. They linger around you. They cry just enough to make you think, hey, maybe I was being a little too harsh. Maybe I said something a little bit too sharp. And that's how they get in. That's how they manipulate you to allowing them access to your space. They crack through to you by basically appealing to your empathy and your sympathy. This is a pattern that I really wish people would talk about a lot more. And it's going to keep happening until we as a community can recognize that danger comes in all shapes and sizes and not just the loud stuff that we're used to. This isn't just about one man or two men. It's a pattern, and it keeps happening because people don't see manipulation when it's drenched in sorrow and sadness. They see somebody that's trying. They see somebody who just needs help. They see somebody who just hasn't been given a chance yet. And while they're busy mothering this person, this man, he's scanning the next room for his next victim. He's looking for somebody else that he can lean on. Because again, with this man, with these types of men, there is no goal of long-term connection. They don't want a connection. They don't want a friendship. They don't want something that's lasting. They only want access. And when they get that access, they're going to leave so quick, it'll make people have their head spin. So I'm going to go ahead and get this wrapped up. And essentially, these last two episodes have been stories about 4 different men with insane tactics. But at the end of the day, what they were basically serving was a big scoop of entitlement. They refused to read the room, refused to accept the rules. They felt that them basically showing up was enough to earn them power, attention, or access. You are not the main event just because you walked in. You are not owed submission. You are not owed time. You aren't owed access. And you aren't basically so special that you don't get to follow the rules. The actions of these men don't just directly impact me, because they do directly impact me, but they also have this massive ripple effect. Okay. They impact every single person around them because they drain them. They are drawing out the energy of the people who have come to my space because of the vibe. Showing up doesn't basically grant you access to deserve trust, bypass boundaries, or take up time, space, and energy. I want these men and all the other men and every other person that has this level of entitlement to know that I'm not doing this for you. I'm not creating this space for you to come in and have your little entitlement affair and think it's okay. Don't come here. You're not allowed. Banned. Banned, banned, banned. Don't come back. To the men that came to my party, like I think 2 weeks ago now at this point, congratulations. You wanted attention and you got all the attention you'd wanted. Okay. Now we all know about you. Sword guy, right? Forever the sword guy, virgin guy, waiver guy, weird guy with attachment issues that no one remembers from 2 years ago. Welcome, because now you're getting the attention you wanted. I hope you enjoy it. To everybody else, thank you for staying with me. This is by far the longest podcast I have made. I just want to let everybody know that my space is not a space of entitlement, and it's not a space for people like these. I can guarantee you, if we ever get behavior like this, they are no longer allowed and they won't be at future events. As for now, I'm off. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And for this special series, this is why they're not invited. Bye.